Welcome. You're tuned to the Urban Affairs program. It's time to get up for Urban Perspectives with your host, Pete Rhodes.
Welcome. You're watching Urban Perspectives. This edition is sponsored in part by BMAnetworks.com. I'm your host, Pete Rhodes. On this episode of Urban Perspectives, we meet professionals in the field of health services, journalism, and we discuss corporate giving. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Urban Perspectives. My first guest has held senior executive roles with Universal Hospital Services, Children's Hospitals and Clinics in Minnesota, Ceridian Corporation, and now he is the Chief Human Resource Officer for Hennepin County Medical Center. Please welcome to Urban Perspectives, Walter Chesley. Walter, how are you doing this morning?
Fine, Peter. Thank you for having me.
I am so glad to have you here. We see each other on a monthly basis at our monitor meetings, and I like the pin you got on there.
Thank you.
Yeah, wearing it proudly. And when we started researching some of the things that you've done, we're so really proud of what you have accomplished and what you continue to do, and thanks for coming on today.
You're very welcome. Glad to be here, Peter.
You know, what does the Chief Human Resource Officer of Hennepin County Medical Center do to maintain and as well strengthen the HCMC staff?
Well, Hennepin County Medical Center is the largest academic teaching hospital in the Twin Cities. We've got 6,100 employees, and we really focus on career development. We have 900 residents that come through our doors each year, 400 medical students that come through the doors each year, and we bring in a number of staff around them. So the real focus on career development and making sure that our people are competent to do the work. We also forge great partnerships in our community with organizations like Minnesota Community Technical College to afford people the opportunity to grow into roles like nursing, medical assistants, and we are really committed to our leadership team, bringing people into the organization that can lead and manage people in our organization. So the primary focus is career development and making sure that we're true to our mission, being an academic teaching hospital.
I see. So then you answered the question, my next one, which was, as my brother is also in human resources, a consultant, on what side are you on, the employee side or the corporation side? How do you help them?
That's a great question, a trick question, but we actually represent the entire organization. We are representatives of management, so we're looking to drive the strategy of the organization, making sure that we have good clinicians to deliver services, and making sure that our employees on the opposite side of the equation are better supported with training, development, and access to allow them to do their work. So it's I would say, a bipartisanship relationship. It's not one side or the other, but it's working after the entire interests of the organization.
Of the organization overall. That's good to know. Now, what are the three most sought after careers in your opinion, Walt, the opportunities that are available, and what entry-level positions are available in the health industry?
Well, first, the three most sought-after positions are nursing. We also have a focus on medical assistants, and we also want to get people that do coding work in the organization to make sure that we secure the right payments, for services that we bill. From a nursing standpoint, we have 1,200 nurses in the organization. Wow. We turn over about 5% each year through retirements and through shifting in hours. So it's a great opportunity for people to come to the organization and get wonderful work. Moreover, the field of nursing is very dynamic and changing very much. Increasingly, healthcare is going to be delivered not so much to the physician, but to the nurse at the patient's bedside. So that's a real core position and critical to our needs. In addition, the medical assistants are the front door to the organization. They are in front, managing patient flow through our clinics, through our inpatient settings, and so it's a great, opportunity and one that's, really high volume in our organization.
That's great. That's great. Now, you've held numerous senior positions in human resource with major corporations. What led you to this career and to HCMC?
That's a great question again. I started my career with Dun & Bradstreet 35 years or so ago in a sales trainee role, evolved into management. And while in the management role, the first management role, I went to law school in the evenings, and I discovered human resources through a mentor who exposed me to the field of human resources, and I found it to be very compelling and really a fit for me, looking at the business strategy, looking at the human capital equation, and it's just been a real passion for me subsequent to that first entry point. I've been able to apply my legal training as the human resources is wrought with challenges from a legal standpoint.
Keeps you sharp there.
It keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
Labor relations,
Yeah.
management of medical funds, things of that nature. So I guess the critical skill and asset that a chief HR officer will bring is really understanding the strategy of the organization, where they're trying to go, and making sure that we have the resources, primarily the human capital, to execute on that strategy.
Yeah. So now, as an HR expert, a lot of people want to know this. What are the key factors to land the job you're looking for, if there were two of them?
The first two I would focus on would be technical skills and computer skills. The healthcare field is really evolving from a technology standpoint, so having that area of competency is very, very important. The second area I would comment on is really interpersonal skills and communications. It's very vital to have good contact, good communication skills, particularly in the clinical settings, so that patients understand what their protocols are from a treatment standpoint, and we want to make sure that the outcomes that we expect that they will have are heard and understood. So interpersonal communications is extremely vital in that area.
Well, pleasure to have you here. Thanks so very much, and take me under your wings a little bit at the monitors as well.
I will do that. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much. Weekly here on Urban Perspectives, we present Shining Stars, highlighting people, places, and events that contribute to the vibrancy of the urban community. Our Shining Star this week started playing the drums before the age of 5. He has a master's degree in music performance from McNally Smith College in St. Paul, and he's a sought-after drummer locally and nationally. He's a youth music educator also, whose passion is to reach one, teach one. Meet our Shining Star, Arthur L.A. Buckner.
My name is Arthur L.A. Buckner. I'm a musician, I'm a drummer, executive producer. I was raised in church. I was sitting in church 3 years old staring at the drums, and that's all I wanted to pay attention to. My pops got me a drum kit when I was first grade, and that's where I went. I come from a musical family. The Buckners, my grandma, she had 3 sets of twins and 2 individual children. They had a choir in the city. My family was really known for music, but music was just always around. I feel like Minneapolis is like a beautiful hub of ethnic culture and music background. I feel like it's a melting pot. I call Minneapolis a small, big city. So much stuff is going on here. So much talent is here. Very eclectic tastes, very eclectic sounds, and the network. You have an opportunity. If you're really trying to move, if you're really trying to work, you have an opportunity to be a big fish in a small pond here. Preparation is key. It's not your level of skill, it's your character. Your relationship with people is the most important thing in any profession. If you want to succeed, you got to be a good person. More so than being a talented person, more so than being just that guy that everybody knows, but people have to know you for a good reason. Working with youth is crazy important to me because even though I had people to look up to when I was younger, I never really had somebody that said, hey, this is what you need to do, and took me by the hand and showed me the route. And I feel like if I can do that for a younger, aspiring musicians or a young person in general, I feel like that their future can be illuminated beyond anyone's imagination. This is Arthur L.A. Buckner, and you are watching Urban Perspectives.
Thank you, L.A. Appreciate it. Next on Urban Perspectives, we talk with the Vice President of Medtronic's Philanthropy Foundation. Meet Dr. Jacob Gayle coming up next on Urban Perspectives. Welcome back to Urban Perspectives. Our next guest oversees philanthropy giving of the global leader in medical technology, Medtronic. He has a distinguished career in international public health and diplomacy and has served in assignments in 6 continents. He has a PhD in international community health from The Ohio State University. Please welcome to Urban Perspectives, Dr. Jacob Gayle. I had to put that "the."
Well, "the," exactly. That's part of the title.
That's
Thanks.
part of the title. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Yourself?
I'm glad to have you here as well.
My pleasure.
You know, we met not too long ago,
That's
it seemed like, with
right.
the Vocal Essence 25th anniversary, so thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
What is the mission of the Medtronic Philanthropy Foundation, Dr. Gayle?
So Medtronic Philanthropy follows the 65-year-old mission of Medtronic as a company. That's to alleviate pain, restore health, extend life,
Yeah.
and to make sure that everybody who can benefit from chronic disease prevention and care have access to it.
Yeah,
So we work on building healthy communities around the world.
Great work. Now, who are some of the organizations that you work with? I know you work with a lot of organizations, and how have they supported you under your leadership?
Okay, well, so I've been here for about 3 years now, and part of my role here was to globalize our effort. And so you'll find that whatever we do all over the world, but it starts here in the birthplace. So here in the Twin Cities, we work very closely with organizations like Stair Step Foundation and some of the work that they do in communities through using the church as the cornerstone, as the clinic in some ways. The Community Mobile that brings healthcare into communities. Baraza, the gathering of women, black women looking at the issues of their own health care and how caring for themselves helps others. Many organizations like that probably were best known, of course, for the Twin Cities Marathon. We sponsor it, and this is the 10th anniversary. All of it is about building healthy communities.
Well, speaking of which, Dr. Gayle, how important is foundation giving to the community, your involvement there?
Well, I think it's very, very important, firstly, for Medtronic. Our founders committed us to being a good neighbor wherever we live and wherever we work. And so corporate citizenship is a part of our identity. So I think on the other side, communities need and should expect support from their corporate neighbors. The only way we can really build a healthy community, for one, is to work for us all.
Yeah, that's so great. Now, you've served on 6 continents. We talked about that a little earlier with residential assignments. What was your mission of service in those continents that you visited?
So I've worked on every continent but Antarctica, and I have to say, after 3 winters in Minnesota, I feel prepared for that.
Okay.
But basically working in the area of public health. For the most part, it was working in HIV/AIDS, but in other infectious disease issues as well, through the U.S. government, through the United Nations, through the Carter Center, different institutions like that.
Yeah. How did you gravitate yourself towards this, Dr. Gayle, this mission of health?
So I think many ways as a son of a social worker who really defined health in a very, very broad social determinants. Family that comes from a medical background, I saw the globe as my patient and really wanted to ensure that people have equal opportunity to live as healthy a life as possible.
You know, our community, the urban community particularly, suffer with chronic diseases at alarming rates. What are your goals moving forward in your position now to help expand the efforts in that chronic disease treatment?
Well, you know, very shortly, 70% of the world's population will be in urbanized settings, and so I think it's important that we understand how we can build health systems and environments that support health, whether it's because of our lifestyles, our genetics, or the environment that we live in. All 3 of those things are things that we can make a difference in terms of urban health. We've got to also take into account our social dimension, our cultural aspects, and make sure that we bring healthcare to the doorstep, not expect that people can reach the clinic, but somehow or another we bring the service to the doorstep of the individual. And I mean that literally as well as figuratively. Put it into our cultural context that we understand.
Now, in terms of giving, it's also important, would you say, for the community as well to give? I know we look for corporations to give, and this as they should, but how important is it as well for us individually to reach out?
Yeah, no, I think that that's essential. I mean, first and foremost, we have to have self-determination. We've got to be committed to the fact that if no one else helps us, we're going to help ourselves. We're determined to be survivors, and survivors we are. And so I think it's important that we not only give ourselves, but it's got to be our voice that leads and guides how our outside partners give to us. But it all starts with us.
Yeah. What was one of the most, you think, challenging missions that you had as you were serving around the world, if you could?
Well, I've had a lot of very interesting missions. I think the most challenging one was probably the early 90s when we were living in apartheid South Africa, and we're there for the transition and for President Mandela's election. It was hard to get a country that was had an incipient HIV/AIDS epidemic growing to really focus on HIV, when in fact rightly people were focused on independence. And so I think the challenge was a cultural challenge, same as we have here.
Yeah, well, you did a good job in transgressing that and getting over and making it happen, I'm sure. And there are a lot of other challenges. We've, of course, had Ebola and some of the other things that are happening here that are on our doorstep. So having a person in a position to make some change inside is good. And we appreciate you being here.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks so much.
Dr. Jacob Gayle, Medtronics Philanthropy. Next, we talk with the former managing editor for the operations at the Star Tribune and the president of the Minnesota chapter of the Association of Black Journalists. You'll meet Duchesne Drew coming up next on Urban Perspectives. My next guest is the new vice president of the Bush Foundation Community Network. He has a bachelor's degree from Columbia University and a master's degree in journalism from Northwestern University. He is a former managing editor at the Minneapolis Star and Tribune and the current president of the Minnesota chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists. Please welcome to Urban Perspectives, Duchesne Drew. Duchesne, how you doing, man?
Great, man. Thanks for having me.
Just saw you a couple of weeks ago at the Monitors meeting.
Yeah.
We're so happy for your new position over there at the Bush Foundation, man. And you know,
Thank you.
We know you're going to do a fantastic job over there.
Thank you. It's a great opportunity to have a bigger impact on the community.
Yeah, well, they got the right person to do that. We appreciate you.
Thanks, bud.
Well, you oversaw the production of the state's largest newspaper, the Star Tribune. Why did you choose journalism, Duchesne, in terms of your career move?
You know, when I was in college, I joined initially to work on my writing en route to law school, and I fell in love with the work and the people who did that kind of work, and really came to understand the influence and the responsibility that came along with it. And after I graduated, it took a little while, but I realized that it's what I was meant to do, that I wanted to get at a wide range of issues. Sometimes it was education, sometimes it was youth and family issues, sometimes it was poverty or race or other things that I thought were often misunderstood or not framed all that well.
I see.
And spend time digging into it, getting a firm understanding of it myself, and then producing stories that help people better understand those issues.
Important, so important. Now, as president of the Minnesota chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists, what is their mission to broaden African American careers in the industry that's so important we know?
Yeah, NABJ is the largest of the journalism organizations in the country that work with people of color. We have actually the largest job fair in the business, regardless of your race or ethnicity. And that's significant because NABJ is about building pathways for people with an interest in journalism or already involved trying to move up. So there's a big job fair there. There's a big professional development conference that takes place over 5 days. So people come to work on their skills, they come to network, they come to figure out what they want to do and what's possible in our industry.
Now, the journalism industry, as we both know, lacks diversity and career opportunities there for people of color. In your opinion, how can we get them to attract the young people attracted to careers in this industry?
It's tough. You know, I don't think there are enough black professional anything, right? We don't have enough black doctors or lawyers or anything. And with journalism, I think particularly in recent years, because newspapers in particular have struggled so mildly financially, it doesn't always look like a safe choice to make. I can tell you that I did not leave the paper because I was worried about its financial future. I think it's going to do really well and actually is poised to get stronger. I think people have to decide in their own hearts if that's the kind of difference they want to make in the community. If they have the skills and the passion for it, they should run toward it because it's a great way to spend your time. It's a great way to shape the community. And we need people. We need people from all walks of life engaged in that work. It's the best way to produce stories, journalism that's reflective of what's actually happening in the community.
Now, you've been hired as the vice president of the Bush Foundation Community Network. What is the Bush Foundation and what does that position allow you to do now?
So the Bush Foundation is based in St. Paul. It was founded in 1953 by Archie and Edith Bush. Archie Bush was 3M exec and did quite well. And he and his wife basically left their money to the community to invest in whatever ultimately seemed to move the community forward. So our mission is actually quite broad and it's intentional. We invest in great ideas and the people who power them. So it's everything from building leadership development skills in people. We just announced on Tuesday our Bush Fellows for 2015. And they're folks who are known to many of your viewers. So the Bush Fellows for 2015 include, Eric Mahmoud, include Trista Harris, include Scott Gray, include Sarah Bellamy, and about 20 other folks in Minnesota, in North Dakota, in South Dakota, and the 23 Native nations in the same geography, which is where Bush spends its money.
You'll be overseeing a lot of that as well?
Yeah, so the leadership programming is one of the programs or one of the teams that rolls up to me along with the community innovation grants. We spend time and money trying to help the community come up with new ideas for solving complex problems. So fueling the process to work through it. And then the communications team, which does communications but also does convening, pulls people together to help them network and to help them build skills and really on some level to inspire them to think a little bit bigger, be a little more ambitious in their work.
A lot of work, man. I'm sure you'll be able to do it. So in the 90 seconds or so that we have left now, it's an important event coming up. The National Association of Black Journalists will do their 40th convention here. It's coming to the Twin Cities. Now, as president of the chapter, what advantages will this bring to our city and our communities?
Oh, it's huge. Most of us in this community, Black folks, are transplants, if you look at the statistics. And so it's a chance to bring more than 2,000 Black journalists to town to look at our town and see it in a way they maybe never have before. Many folks have never been here, or it's been a long time. Others maybe haven't seen it through a particular lens. And I think because those journalists reflect out to their communities what the world is, I think they'll come away with a much better sense of what Minneapolis has to offer, what the Twin Cities have to offer, and what's possible here.
Yeah, we're going to do a lot with that. Looking forward to having you back. Have some of those young folks over and we can talk to them and see if we can excite others to get involved.
Perfect.
Duchesne, Drew, thanks so much.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you for watching Urban Perspectives. I'd like to thank my sponsors, BMAnetworks.com, my guests, Walter Chesley, Dr. Jacob Gayle, and Duchesne Drew, our shining star, Arthur L.A. Buckner, and of course you, the audience, for getting up with Urban Perspectives. Visit our website at urbanperspectives.tv for information on our guests and where you can find also previous links to broadcasts. And you can help us by growing us and liking our Facebook page. Obviously, that always helps. There are positive things happening in our cities. Remember that. And you can see them right here on Urban Perspectives. We're glad to have you. Now enjoy the photos of the week featuring Shapeshift Dance Company. I'm Pete Rhodes, and I'll see you next week.